You're listening to the Iggy Podcast with Nick Ignatov.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to the first ever Iggy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nick Ignatov, or Iggy, whichever you prefer. And yeah, this is going to be a hockey podcast. I am a Leafs fan based in Moncton, New Brunswick, which means I'm going to be talking Leafs, and I'm going to be talking Moncton Wildcats of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Those are my two teams. I'm also going to be talking about all of the NHL and just whatever else comes up in hockey, really. I'm also a Kingston Frontenacs fan of the OHL. I'll try to talk a little bit of them if I can, but I'm not really keeping up with them because I'm already keeping up with the Wildcats. So that's pretty much what this podcast is going to be about. My main plan is to put the Wildcat stuff in the front, NHL stuff after that, and Leaf stuff at the end to kind of give it, if you're a Leafs fan and you're here just for the Leafs, I'm not going to scare everyone else away that's not Leafs fans right out the gate. So that's pretty much my plan. So yeah, Leafs talk is going to be near the end of the podcast. Our topics today are just going to be kind of vague topics. We're going to be talking Wildcat season so far. We're going to be talking about the NHL standings. We're going to be talking about the Habs. We're going to be talking about the Leafs, lineup decisions, their last game against the Flames, stuff like that. And we're going to be talking about Vegas and the recent news out of Vegas. So we're going to start with the Moncton Wildcats. Now, looking at the standings, the Wildcats are not doing well lately. They are 2-7-0-1 in their last 10. That's bad. I don't have to tell you that's bad. That's pretty bad. They had such a good start to the year. They were number one in the division. The only team that was ahead of them was Quebec Ramparts, I believe. You had Mika Sear and Jeremy McKenna being like 1 and 2 in league scoring. Now all of a sudden that hasn't happened. They've been on a bit of a slump lately. And they've got 2 games coming up against Cape Breton tomorrow night. This is being recorded on November 30th, by the way. And also on Saturday night, they play Rouyn-Noranda. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not saying that right. I'm sorry. I'm from Ontario, so these French names are messing with me. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through some of my thoughts on the players. So the first line for pretty much the majority of the season has been Jeremy McKenna, Mika Sear, and Jacob Pelletier. Sear's been great, 30 points in 27 games. Oh, sorry, that's McKenna. Sear's 29 points in 27 games. And Pelletier's 25 points in 22 games. He was not hurt. He played in the under-17 tournament for Team Canada. So him being there is what has made him miss that many games. And what I like about that line is they always are doing something. They're always doing something creative and interesting offensively. They don't usually have bad games. But the problem with the Wildcats, I believe, is that they have 2 lines that are pretty good offensively. 2 of them. And from there, they're kind of thin. Honestly, if I'm being honest. They're a bit thin. And that's mostly offensively. I think their defense can help with that, make up for it. I mean, Nick Welsh, their number 1 defenseman, 24 points in 27 games, including 22 assists. He's been incredible this season, and he's really been the Erik Karlsson type, the quarterback that, runs the power play, runs the puck up the middle, helps them out that way. And he's been very good at that. The biggest question I think the Wildcats are going to have to face is, can they match up with a team like Halifax that is so dominant? And they've beat Halifax before, but still, it's a really tough division, and it's going to be hard for them to stay this good. I think one guy that really needs to pick it up is Anderson McDonald. I don't think that's really a shock to anyone. He was supposed to be a pretty high pick in the NHL draft. He's kind of losing steam though because of his start to the season. Only 18 points in 24 games. That's pretty good if this is the NHL. It's not, though. He's supposed to be a really good pick. And watching him, I feel like he's just snake bitten. He needs to get it going. And I don't know what the answer is, because I don't know if moving Pelletier down and putting him up helps them as a team. Pelletier is a rookie. They just drafted him this past offseason. So you would want him to develop better, I think, and keep him in it so he can stay greater longer. He's your franchise guy it's the Q, right? They're not going to be here forever. So he's your franchise guy for the next 2 or 3 years, right? You're going to want to keep him as good as possible, keep him learning, and he'll get better throughout the years. But McDonald, I don't know if it's his line mates. Julian Tessier's having a good year. He's got more points than Anderson, than McDonald, rather, with 22 points in 26 games. I just don't know what it is with him. He's a minus 17, by the way. 15 rather. I don't really care for plus minus stats, if I'm being honest. But still, dude, that's really bad. So the thing I've noticed with McDonald the most is his shot is top notch. That dude's shot is incredible. So I don't know what you're gonna have to do to get him better, but I hope he gets better soon. I really do. So that's pretty much all I'm gonna say about the Wildcats right now. I think I'll have more to talk about after these weekend's games. Obviously, I'm gonna be at both of them. So hopefully they pick up the slack and get out of this little slump that they're in. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna say. So let's move on to NHL action. I say we're just going to be talking about the standings. So I'm going to start in the West, I think, because I think both conferences are really crazy, but the West is more interesting to me just because it's the West. We're going to start from the top. We got St. Louis, Winnipeg, and Nashville. Top of the Central. I'm not really shocked by any of them. I think Winnipeg being this good is a bit shocking. I'd say they're probably more of a wild card team, but if Halibut keeps it up, and if this is what he is, why would they slow down? Why? There's no need for them to slow down. Then you got the Pacific, which is just hilarious. Vegas, LA, San Jose. San Jose, I could see staying there. LA is a yes or no, really. And the fact that Vegas... All right, we'll get to Vegas later. That's not really the point right now, but wow. Vegas is a shocker and a half, man. Then you've got teams like Dallas and Chicago. They're playing well. I mean, are you shocked? What's more shocking is Colorado is a point behind those two teams. And what might be the most shocking is Minnesota is in the bottom of the division. This was supposed to be the deepest team last year, and now they're at the bottom of the division? It can't keep up. There's this division. The Central is so nuts. I don't know if there's a bad team in the Central. I think Colorado is clearly the worst, but maybe even Dallas is getting there too. But they're all pretty good teams. I don't think anyone I was about to say the words. I don't think anyone will catch St. Louis, and yet Winnipeg is a point behind, and Nashville is 2 points behind. So I don't even know anymore. I thought St. Louis is incredible, but man, those two teams are pretty good. I think out of all of them, the one that's not serious is Colorado. Dallas and Chicago might be the other two. Minnesota's got to pick it up though, man. That's bad. Moving on to the Pacific, we've got Vegas, LA, San Jose. Then we got Calgary, and I thought Calgary was better than this. I thought they were doing pretty well. I mean, they didn't do well against the Leafs the other night, but still, I thought they were better than this, and they're not even in a wild card spot right now. So I'm color me shocked. I thought they were better than this. Vancouver, looking at their lines recently, I tweeted recently that Vancouver is better than I thought they were. I thought Vancouver was a joke. And looking at their lines, they're not really that terrible. They're still not going to make the playoffs, guys, but they're not that terrible. Anaheim is out of the playoff picture because they have 9,000 injuries, because they can't put together a healthy lineup, because they have lines right now where I look at some of the players and I go, who is that guy? And I own every NHL game since '08, and I still don't know some of the players they have on their team. I'm like, who the hell is that guy? So right now, I think as soon as all their guys come back, I think they'll be fine, and I think they're making the playoffs. I don't think that's really a huge doubt. Edmonton, I think, is screwed. Edmonton is so so funny because as a Leafs fan, there's two teams I really hate. Most people are going to think it's Ottawa and Montreal. I don't like Ottawa, but I like them more than Edmonton. And I dislike Edmonton because I think Edmonton has made the dumbest decisions out of any team besides probably Montreal. And that's what and the thing is, I love Connor McDavid. I love him so much. I feel so bad for him that he's in a place like Edmonton. That, well, more I feel bad for him that his GM is Peter Chiarelli. Not taking any offense to the people of Edmonton. I think it would be one of the best cities to be the franchise guy in. If you are, like he kind of is, the Wayne Gretzky of this generation, just dominating everybody and no one really knows how to stop this young kid, then obviously the place to be is, like, it almost works too perfect that he's on Edmonton. But his GM is a moron. And look, I get it. I'm just a kid. I'm not a GM. Like, come on, buddy. But, like, look at the results he's getting. He's getting poor results and time again. This GM keeps making bad decisions all the time, and everyone just gives him a pass. Eventually, that is going to run out. There are certain GMs in this league that have made bad decisions forever, and they stay in the league for a while, and then they slowly fade out. Mike Mulberry is a good example. He stayed in the league a while, but God, once he got out, he was known for just being terrible. So I think Chiarelli is clearly a GM that is one of the worst in the league, probably second worst to Mark Bergevin. I feel bad for you, Oilers fans, because you should be better. You have probably the best player in the world, and you can't even celebrate, because your GM just keeps messing things up. And, one thing, though, Oilers fans, I got to say, would you quit blaming a guy like Connor McDavid for your problems when your GM has signed Milan Lucic to forever for $6 million? Okay? It's Milan Lucic. He's not the reason that you made the playoffs last year. He's not the reason that you went that far. That's Connor McDavid. That's Cam Talbot. That's Oscar Klefbom. That's Leon Draisaitl. It's not Milan Lucic, but he's being paid like he's the third best player on that team. That is pathetic. He doesn't deserve that much money. He doesn't. He is a player, much like he's like Franz Nielsen. He's like every other friggin' player that got way too much money in free agency like everybody else. And it was a bad choice. It was a bad choice. The Leafs gave out a big contract to Patrick Marleau this offseason for roughly around the same. It was in the $6 million range. They gave it to him for 3 years. He's already like 38. So yeah, that's rough, but it's 3 years. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd take Pat Marleau over Milan Lucic at 39 or 40 compared to Milan Lucic now, because I still think he'll be a better benefit to your team than Lucic will by the end of his deal. I think it's a terrible move. Okay, I'm not even in the East yet. All right, let's get to the East real quick. Well, I got the wild card. Now, we've got in the Metro, Columbus, the Islanders, and New Jersey. New Jersey finally not the number one team in the Metro. They were forever. Columbus just passed them. And then we've got, in the Atlantic, Tampa, Toronto, Boston. Wild card, Washington, Pittsburgh. And then you got the Rangers, the closest behind. If we go to divisions, looking at the Metro is really upsetting compared to looking at the Atlantic. I'll give you an example. Carolina right now, if they were in the Atlantic, they would be 1 point out of the third playoff spot in the Atlantic. They'd be that close. And yet they are the second last in the division. If Philadelphia who has lost a lot of games lately. They've been terrible of late. They are calling for their coaches to be fired because they are playing so bad. They would be 3 points out of a playoff spot in the Atlantic. That's insane. If we look at the conference, which I still think it should go back to the conference style of letting teams in the playoffs, we would have Boston, who easily makes it now. They're a lock to make it third in the Atlantic right now. They would be out. They wouldn't make it. By 2 points, actually, they wouldn't make it. Because you would have almost the entire Metro Division in. And you would have Tampa and Toronto from the Atlantic. That's it. That's how bad the Atlantic Division is compared to the Metro. It's really upsetting. Which gets to my point of hooray if you're a Leafs fan, because despite disaster, but I mean it's the Leafs. They've been there before. There's been plenty of disasters in the Leafs history. But let's not pretend that they're kind of a lock for the playoffs with how bad the rest of the division is. I don't even know who that third spot's going to go to. Could be Montreal. I hope not, but it could be. They're playing better than Ottawa, who I thought was the lock. They've lost 5 straight all of a sudden. I thought Florida could be there. They're playing like crap too. I don't know who that final spot is that it's going to be taken by. It could be Boston, and Boston does not deserve that spot. They're terrible. This is where the conferences have failed them, because in that conference, right now, Boston probably would rather have a lottery pick than be in the playoffs. At least I think that would be more helpful for them. But still, man, I just don't get it. In the Metro themselves, I think Carolina is probably going to get a lot better. I wouldn't be shocked to see Carolina get a lot better because they played really well against the Leafs. I don't know if New Jersey's good enough to stay there. They could be. I think the Islanders are shocking everyone. Tavares might stay there. I don't know. If they're playing that good. I mean, if Bergevin can convince Price to stay in Montreal, who says Snow can't convince Tavares to stay with the Islanders? Realistically. Everyone's like, oh, he wouldn't want to stay there with all this stuff and how they're going downhill. You could say the same stuff about Montreal. And no one said that. I mean, there was Leafs fans that were like, oh, Carey Price will sign in Toronto. Oh, but that was about it. Montreal is just as big of a train wreck as the Islanders have. People always said, oh, well, Snow's trading away all of Tavares' line partners. Friggin' Friggin' Bergevin keeps trading away all of the Habs' good defensive players and just good players in general. He's like, oh, we can't score. Let's get all fourth liners then in the trade deadline to go into the playoffs with. Here you go, Carey. Here's your help. What? If they can convince Price to stay, the Islanders can convince Tavares to stay. That's my whole thought. Speaking of the Habs, this is a segment called the GD Move of the Week. It's the GD Move of the Week. Bum, bum, bum. Now, what the GD Move of the Week is it's GD stands for Grocery Divider. You know, the one at the grocery store you put in the middle so you can separate your groceries. It's called the GD Move of the Week because what's more useless than that little piece of plastic? It has one use and we really don't actually need it. So that's my GD Move of the Week. It's basically saying Idiot of the Week. It won't always be that week. And this, for example, is not going to be this week. It's instead going to just be in the past. And once again, I'm going to beat up on the Habs. And once again, I'm going to beat up on the Habs and Carey Price specifically. Here's the problem with what I'm feeling. The Habs are injured. The Habs let Price play hurt, and then he was out for the year, and then they tanked. Now it seemed like maybe the same thing happened again, and my thought is, what are you doing? My other thought is, if they need to rebuild, which who knows if they're going to. I think if you need to rebuild, you need to fire Bergevin. I don't know if they'll ever do that, but If, say, Bergevin gets fired and they hire a new guy, you have to rebuild this team. That's what you have to do now, right? But how are you going to do that with such huge contracts weighing you down? They're weighing them down. There are so many big deals that they have that are going to be near impossible to get rid of. Luckily, Plekanec comes off the books next season, so that's good for them. Jonathan Drouin at 5.5, that's a fine deal. I'm not against that contract. Galchenyuk at 4.9 for who he is, that's a good deal. Max Pacioretty's a steal at 4.5, obviously. Andrew Shaw for the next 4 years at 3.9 is stupid. Gallagher, though, at 3.75 is hilarious. They've got good deals and bad deals. So I will admit, their forward deals are pretty good. Some of the deals they've got are incredible. The fact that they have three of their best players, Drouin, Galchenyuk, Pacioretty, and Gallagher all under $6 million is impressive. I'll give them that. They have to pay Shea Weber. The cap friendly doesn't even go to the year that he is still under. Can I go further than that? Literally 23, 24. He's still on contract for 7.875. You can blame the Flyers for that, I'm pretty sure. So that's pretty rough. Even Petrie for 3 years after this is a bit rough. Carl Alsner's a joke. That's a joke and a half. And now you got Carey Price. And he's also signed past 23, 24. And look, I know it's Carey Price. I get that, okay? I get that. Yeah, his contract goes till 25, 26. I get it. All right, it's Carey Price. Here's the thing, though, is that deal is going to be impossible to get rid of if they want to trade Carey Price. And I know a lot of people are like, why the hell would you trade Carey Price? Because it's a rebuild, okay? If they break it all down, you kind of have to trade Price because that's $10.5 million that you can get rid of, and it's your best player. If you don't trade your best player during a rebuild, then I don't know if you're doing it right. But he's under contract for 8 years at $10.5 million. What team can afford that? None of them. There is no team that can take on that contract right now. None of them. And not just that contract, but that, it's not just the fact that the $10.5 million. If the contract was $10.5 million for 3 years, I'd want the Leafs to take it. That's not true. I think I like Anderson. But the point is that that's a really good deal. It's the length is the problem. Right now, Carey Price is already a bit too old. He's older right now. Can I see his age? Yeah, he's 30 right now. So that's 30. He'll be 31 when the contract kicks in. So that deal goes till he's 39. That's pretty nuts. After 35, unless he plays like Roberto Luongo, which he very well could. He could play like Roberto Luongo and be amazing for years. But still, man, that's too much and too long. So I think that's the GD move of the week is I think you may have I think you may have handicapped yourself with such a long contract. If that's all Carey would take, then that's all Carey would take. But still. So that's my GD move of the week. It's time to talk Leafs. Let's talk some Leafs. All right. For me, I want to talk about the Leafs lineup choices because they bug me. It's just facts. They bug me. There's a lot of things that bug me about the lineup. And right now on Daily Faceoff here, what I've got is Hyman, Matthews, Brown. I'm fine with that. I love those three players. Marleau, Kadri, Komarov. Once again, I'm fine with that. Van Riemsdyk, Bozak, Marner. Totally fine with that. Martin, Moore, Nylander. Oh, that's pretty bad. Then you've got Riley Hainsey, perfect. Gardner Zaitsev, fine. Borkman, Polak, get Polak out of the lineup every day of the week. Stop. Okay? Stop. So a few things I want to say. One, would you quit scratching Josh Levo? Like, okay, I say that, but like, who's going to come in, you know? I think a big problem with the Leafs lineup is that I don't think it's done. I think that's a huge thing, is that I don't think it's done. They clearly have some moves to make, I think. And I think there's a trade coming. Because here's my problem. A guy like Connor Brown kind of deserves to be in the top 6, but with the way the lineup works, he's not in the top 6, right? A guy like Nylander also should never be on the 4th line, but he is. Because who really should leave out of the guys in the top 9? Komarov, I think, might be the best option, but him and Kadri have played great together, right? So I think there's some moves to be made. I think Bozak's probably going to get moved. I think JVR hopefully gets moved. I think that's a really big asset you got to get rid of. I think they're going to re-sign Komarov. I hope it's for cheaper, but I think if you move Bozak and you don't get a decent, at least third-line center back, you can move Marleau to center. Now, finally, Nylander has a way of getting up in the lineup and is not like just put on the 4th line where he doesn't belong. And, well, who replaces Bozak? Josh Levo, the guy that already deserves to be in the lineup anyway. So you have Martin, Moore, Levo, then you got Van Riemsdyk. Then you say Kadri, Komarov, Nylander, I guess. And then JVR, Marleau, Marner, and then Brown, Matthews, Hyman. I'm fine with that. That sounds pretty good. Again, I think the thing is that they're trying to make a trade. I think that Babcock is not really happy with the lines he's got, and I think that's why he keeps shaking them up all the time. And it might also be just the fact he's trying to find the optimal lineup for when playoff time hits. I don't really know. But it's bugging me a bit. So I think there's a trade coming. I don't know what it is. I hope it's something good. But, I'm just an optimist. So that's all I'm going to talk Leafs. Hopefully they win against the Oilers tonight. Actually, you know what? Let me make a prediction. Prediction tonight. I'm going to go with 5-2 Leafs. 5-2 Leafs. Because one of two things is going to happen. Either the Leafs are going to curb stomp them, or Leafs are the win that gets the Oilers back into it. Because that's usually what happens with the Leafs. All right. I'll take a sip of coffee here. Now, my next segment is called Can They Do It? Can they do it? Maybe? Can They Do It is basically a segment where I take a team or a player and just ask the simple question, can they do it? Whatever it is that they're trying to do. So whether it's Ovechkin hitting 50 goals in a season or something like that, just stuff like that. So my Can They Do It this week is the Vegas Golden Knights. And what is it that they can do? Actually make the playoffs is the thing I'm going to talk about, because I'm stunned. They're the best in their division. Even without divisions, I think they're still like 3rd or 4th in the conference. It's absurd how well they're playing, and I don't get it. I just don't understand. So I did some diving into some stats here. They are 15-7-1 with 31 points. That's pretty good. Their goals for is 81. They have 81 goals for. That's surprising to me to have that many goals for. They have also got 81 goals for, 69 against. So they've got a decent amount of goals against, but for a team that lost all the goalies they have, they still only have 69 goals against. That's incredible. That's incredible, and they deserve a lot of credit, man. I was just ripping into them and how stupid they were being, and man, like, they done good. I don't know how they did it, but they done good. Um, they signed a brand new deal recently. They signed Braden McNabb, 4 years at $2.5 million. So I wanted to dive a little bit into Braden McNabb. According to Daily Faceoff, he is on the first pair right now. When it comes to points, let me check here. 2 assists in 20 games, so fine. Plus minus, he is a plus 10, which is tied with Derek Englund for best on the team. Wow. Derek Englund has it's that many. Is it plus minus that high? That's crazy. I don't really believe in plus minus, by the way, so don't jump on me for that. I just thought it'd be interesting to point it out. Now, looking at the Corsi on Hockey Reference, I see that McNabb is 49.5. So it's, you want optimally, it's like 50 or higher is a good Corsi player. So him being that low isn't that bad at all. It's fine. He's a fine player. And what's interesting to me is that he is on your top pairing, it looks like, him and Schmidt. And, he's 49.5 Corsi for. That's pretty decent. But what's interesting to me is you sign up for $2.5 million. That's your first pairing guy. That's not a lot of money for your first pairing guy. So if that is your actual first pairing guy, good for you, I guess. That's amen, man. Like, first pairing guy for $2.5 million, I'll take that in a heartbeat. But I think that clearly shows that he's not going to be their first pairing guy for at least 2 or 3 of those 4 years that he signed for. But, if he's happy there, it's the first guy we've seen sign an extension with the team. So that's great for them, man. That is great for them. Going into their lineup itself, James Neal, Eric Holla, and Brendan Leipsic is their first line according to Daily Faceoff. Good for Brendan Leipsic, by the way, as a Leafs fan. That's pretty great to see. He's still scoreless, by the way. Everyone was jumping on him because he hasn't scored a goal. He's got 7 assists in 15 games. That's still pretty impressive, man. Like, come on. And James Neal, 12 goals, 19 points in 23 games. And Eric Holla, 13 points in 19 games. That's pretty decent as well. Now, the guy that's been pretty insane for them... Actually, give me a sec. Let me look at their Corsi first. So we've got not Riley Smith. Leipzig at 51.1. Corsi, pretty good. You've got James Neal at 49.4. That's not the best. And Eric Holla at 48.6. Also not the best. Still. Then you've got the line that's apparently destroying worlds. Riley Smith, William Karlsson, and Jonathan Marchessault. So William Karlsson has 13 goals. He's the leading scorer on the team, 22 points. Jonathan Marchessault, 21 points in 20 games. That's incredible for him. And Riley Smith, 19 points in 23 games. That's pretty good. William Karlsson being their leading scorer is not something I saw coming. The fact that he even, I had no idea he was good enough to be like that. Marchessault I knew. Marchessault had a great season last year, and I knew Florida was going to regret leaving him open, and they are. You look at the Corsi 4, Marchessault has a 55.9. That's incredible. William Karlsson, 53.4, also incredible. And Smith, 52.7. That's pretty nuts. For that whole line being that good, that's impressive, and they should be proud of that. Looking at the team itself, there's not a lot of positive Corsi, though. Why? Well, probably because this team's not that deep. Alex Tuch, Cody Eakin, and Thomas Nosek. Eakin and Tuch are fine. I don't think Nosek's any good. Lindbergh has been a bit impressive. Belmar and now Stefan Matteau. I guess there's more injuries here. Yeah, Perron's hurt. So Perron is another big addition, I think. And once he comes back, wow, he is terrible course-wise, though. 46.5, yikes. But he's still a decent player when it comes to offense. So, good for him. When it comes to defense, McNabb, Schmidt, Theodore, I always thought when I looked at Vegas, the only defenseman that they should have kept would be Theodore and Schmidt. Apparently, Braden McNabb is now a part of that D core that they want to keep. So, all to them, man. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And can they do it, though, is the question I'm supposed to be answering. And reading all of that, finding all this out, I still don't think it's possible. And you're probably asking the question then, well, who's going to replace them in the division? Calgary and Anaheim. I think that much is simple. I think both wildcard spots are going to be going to the Central teams because the Central is so stacked. And I think Calgary's going to wake up. And I think Anaheim is clearly, we don't think Anaheim's as bad, do we? I think Anaheim and Calgary take the spot of Vegas. And I mean, maybe LA, maybe San Jose over Calgary. But, man, one of those teams obviously is coming out. And I think it's Vegas. I don't think they can keep this up. And keep in mind, guys, they still might sell everyone. I mean, you look at the cap friendly right now. They've got James Neal is not under contract next season. Neither is David Perron. And neither is William Karlsson. They could sell William Karlsson for so much. Jonathan Marchessault. What a hell of an addition for a playoff team would Jonathan Marchessault be. He's under cap for $750,000, guys. He's above a point per game right now. 21 points in 20 games for $750,000? Sign me up, dude. That's an incredible move for any team that, he might be the best rental in the NHL right now. I mean, I get it. John Tavares could be a rental too, but most bang for your buck rental. Tavares is still going to come with a decent deal. I think it's 5.5. James Neal's still $5 million. It's going to be hard to squeeze those guys in under the cap. Marchessault might be the best option for any team over the cap right now. That's an incredible option. But it's up to them whether they want to keep him. He's 26 years old. Maybe that's a guy you keep. There's a lot of contracts they've got to sign. John Merrill is up next year. Colin Miller's up next year. England, I'm sure England, if he doesn't retire, he's going to sign again just because it's his hometown. Shea Theodore might be the most important contract to re-sign this season because he's supposed to be one of their big guys. So we might see him get re-signed. And, Maxime Lagacé needs a contract next year. So who knows, man? It's crazy how this team is good right now, and they can be better soon, but they still have to sell off assets, I think. First round, in 2018, they have a first round, a second round, the Penguins 4th, Carolina's 5th in their own 5th, Toronto 6th in their own 6th. They don't have a 3rd, they don't have a 7th. Boo-hoo. Because in 2019, they have their own 1st, their own 2nd, Columbus is 2nd, Islanders 2nd, their own 3rd, Nashville's 3rd, Winnipeg's 3rd, their own 4th, their own 5th, Montreal's 5th, and then their own 6th and 7th. And then next in 2020, they still have Dallas 2nd and Pittsburgh 2nd. That's only going to get more when they sell off more players. I didn't agree with a lot of their decisions because I think they were thinking more of building a team than selling off assets. I think you could have got a guy like Peter Mrazek and maybe sold him for better than maybe Calvin Pickard. But, the Leafs have Calvin Pickard, so hooray! I don't know. I think Vegas is not going to make it, but, crazier things have happened, man. Crazier things have happened. And who knows? I could be wrong about all of this. I'll listen back to this in April and be like, what the hell was I thinking? So who knows, man? Let me know what you guys think about everything I've talked about today, about the Wildcats, about the NHL standings, just Oilers fans and Habs fans rip into me, because I know you're going to if you're listening, because I really ripped into your team. But I think that's going to be it for today. Was the first ever Iggy Hockey Podcast. I'm hoping to do at least 2 a week. We're going to see about that. I'm going to record on the weekend after the Wildcats games. So I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for listening, everyone. This is Nick Ignatov. See you later. Hello again. You probably just heard the end of my first episode of the Iggy Hockey Podcast. Well, life isn't fair. So after I recorded that podcast about 2 hours ago, there was a giant trade in the NHL, and I didn't want to wait till the weekend. I wanted to talk about it now. So this is a huge trade. I'm on Cap Friendly Twitter right now. The trade is Sami Vatanen and a 2019 or 2020 third-round pick, conditional, and I'll say the conditions later, to the Devils for Adam Henrique, Joseph Landisi, and a 2018 third-round pick. All right, so we're going to get into a bit of the details of this trade. The condition on the third-round pick is if the Ducks sign Adam Henrique to an extension after the 2019 draft, the Devils get the 2019 third. If it's after the 2020 draft, then it's a 2020 third. Sorry, if it's after the 2019 draft, then it's a 2020 third. And if it's no extension, then it's no pick. So basically, if the Ducks re-sign Henrique before the 2019 draft, the Devils get a 2019 third-round pick. If they sign him after the 2019 draft, it's a 2020 third-round pick. If they don't sign him at all, there's no pick. All right? So that's the news. Just some contract stuff. Vatanen has 3 years left on a $4.875 cap hit. For a Henrique, 2 years remaining on a $4 million cap, and Joseph Landisi, $680K on a 2-year deal. Now, my thoughts on the trade. This is going to sound weird, but I'm a big NHL game fan, and one of the GMs I've done recently is the New Jersey Devils, and I thought they were a mess, so I wanted to fix them. I do that a lot with GMs. And since playing that, I love Adam Henrique. I think he's such a good player. I think he's underrated. Looking at his stats, they're not the most promising. The best point total he's had is 51 points in his rookie year in 2010, 2011, I think. I checked that recently. Now I don't remember. But the point is he's reached 50 points twice, I think, and he's never been above 51 points in his career. So the Devils are losing a good piece. And I think the piece about this trade isn't just it's not just the factor of losing this player. I think it's also the matter of you lost a guy that's been around for a while, and a guy that's kind of been ingrained in the community for a while. So I think they're really going to miss him in New Jersey, and I understand that. So I understand that part of it. Now, why did the Ducks do this? Well, if you haven't noticed, there's like 9,000 injuries on that team. I said that on the podcast. 3 of which I believe are players that play center. I know Kessler plays center. I know Getzlaf plays center. And I think Raquel might play center. I think he played wing last year, though. So right now, their center icemen are Derek Grant, Chris Wagner, Antoine Vermette, and Kalle Kasilia. Who the hell are 3 of those players? That's where Henrique comes in. Henrique's probably going to slot in at number 1 center right away, playing with what looks like Corey Perry and Nick Ritchie if they keep that line together. And that's probably going to be the main reason why they've got him. Now, he's there for 2 years now. So let me check on the rest of their cap situation. But if that's the truth, if that's how that works, then they are a monster up the middle now. If that is the truth, let me check here. Henrique is already on the team now, and they still have a decent amount of cap space, it looks like. Patrick Eaves is the only one on the LTIR right now. So you've got Kessler, Getzlaf, Henrique, and Ricard Raquel, and they're all They all have at least 2 years on their deal. They have a lot of guys to re-sign next season. Wow. But the point remains, because of that, they have a top 4, if they decide to use it, of Henrique, Kessler, Getzlav, and Vermette. That's insanity. That is insane. What a huge upgrade for them. And amen to them, man. Like, this is a really, really good trade for Anaheim, I think. Joseph Landisi, who knows, man? He's in the AHL right now. Yeah, he doesn't have great numbers. So I don't know if the Devils really lost a lot. The only thing that I think Devils fans should be like concerned about is the fact that they lost Adam Henrique. That's kind of a big hole. So we'll see what they replace it with, but still. Now, oh wow, Jersey's also got Marcus Johansson and Kyle Palmieri out. So right now they're a bit weak on the wings, but having those 2 guys back is definitely going to help. So here's the other part of it. Now, if we go to the Devils part of this trade, right now their defensive core is Andy Green, Steve Stantini, John Moore, Damon Severson, Will Butcher, and Ben Lovejoy. Now you have to insert Sami Vatanen in there, and all of a sudden, they kind of look pretty good. Now, I only have one more question, so let me look this up. Sorry, guys, but this was obviously done very quick. I work in like less than an hour, so I'm kind of just panicking on figuring all this out. But if we look at their things here, if you hear him yelling, it's my cat. So they've got those players, right? If I look here, according to Daily Faceoff, you got Andy Green, who shoots left, Steve Stantini, who shoots right. Okay, that's intriguing. John Moore, who shoots left, and Severson, who shoots right. Then you got Will Butcher, who shoots left, and Ben Lovejoy that shoots right. So they are left and right up on their defense, which a lot of teams don't have that, and that's a really big plus that a lot of teams like to have. So now, I'm assuming Ben Lovejoy is going to be the odd man out, as Severson and Stantini are pretty good players, and I can't see them taking out a left shooting guy when Vatanen also shoots right. So I can't see them taking out Green, Moore, Butcher, and I can't see them taking out Stantini or Severson. I'm pretty sure those 2 guys, at least from what I've seen in the NHL games, they seem to be really good players. So I can't see them really getting rid of those 2 guys right now. And I don't blame them for that. So, and we've got another tweet here from Cap Friendly on the deal. Interesting side note, Sami Vatanen had a limited no-trade clause, 12 teams he had allowed a trade to that was set to kick in next season. Now the Devils have the option to honor that clause or have it nullified as it has yet to take effect. So basically, Anaheim had this year to make that trade. Man. See, you know what? Here's a part I didn't think about. This really sucks for Leafs fans, because what if they would have taken Tyler Bozak? Is Adam Henrique really better than Tyler Bozak? Probably defensively. I don't know what he's like defensively. Okay, Tyler Bozak's best point season is 55, which was last season, actually. Wow, I didn't know that. And then you got Henrique, whose best season was 51 points in his rookie year. He consistently stays in between 40 and 50, roughly. Tyler Bozak had an off year a few years back. He was also hurt a lot, but he usually stays around the same. So it depends on how good Henrique is defensively. If he's good defensively, then it would be a smart move for Anaheim to go for him. And maybe it's also a matter of they wanted someone that they could keep around for a while. You know, Henrique's got 2 years on his deal, and it's a steal of a contract too. That's another part of it, is he's also cheaper than Bozak, cap-wise. So maybe that had to do with it. But man, if I'm the Leafs and I didn't at least try to trade Bozak to Anaheim, I'd be a bit upset right now. So let's look at Tyler Bozak, and let's look at Adam Henrique on hero charts. So Henrique is not as good assist-wise, but he's better goal-scoring-wise. He's not nearly as good at generating shots, but he's better at suppressing them. So that's not surprising. Bozak is a better offensive player, clearly. Henrique is a slightly better defensive player. So if you were, and he's got more goals, but Bozy has. So roughly they're around the same, realistically. And it looks like Henrique is on the downhill, while Bozak is kind of on an up, it seems. So we'll see what happens there. But that's clearly I think that's, if I'm the Leafs, that's something that upsets me. Maybe you should have tried a little bit harder. And again, I don't know. They might have tried. They might have tried really hard, and I don't know that. But the next thing I want to look at is the comparables. So let's take a look at Sami Vatanen as a good defenseman. We'll see on hero charts. I'm on ownthepuck.blogspot.ca. Great site. I use it all the time. So, okay, let's go with the second pairing defenseman. He's definitely better than an average second pairing. His first assist per hour is lower, but his shot generation is higher. Shot suppression is slightly lower than a second pairing guy. How about a number 2 defenseman? Once again, some spots are higher, some spots are lower. But it seems like he's more of an offensive talent than a defensive talent. And, I mean, New Jersey needs more goal scoring. So maybe this is your guy. Because I don't think... I mean, you've got some really good young talent in Severson, clearly. Will Butcher is having a great year. Stantini's doing well, too. I mean, those... Now you've just kind of loaded up you got... I don't know. I don't think he got younger. Yeah, Vatanen's 26, but he's definitely younger than Andy Green. And I think they picked him up, honestly, to be the guy offensively now. I think they want him to be the Carlson. And I don't know. I could be 100% wrong on that. But if he's more of an offensive talent on the defensive end, he shoots right, that could be a big part of it, man. And so here's my thing, right? A lot of the time when you see deals like this, you go, who won this trade? My problem is I don't think anyone did. I think it's pretty much I think it's like 100% good for both teams. And I think both teams got a guy that they wanted. I don't think there's any problems with this deal whatsoever. And honestly, I don't think it's bad at all. Now, let me check a few more things. I want to look at Adam Henrique's Corsi, see if he's any good. That's goal scoring. Take me to advanced statistics. Here we are. Where are you? Henrique where is he? There he is, 45. That's not very good. Now, let's go to the Anaheim Ducks. All right. Oh, this isn't what I wanted. Rut-row. Okay, now we got problems. There, that's what I want. Click on that. Sorry, guys. I'll probably cut a bunch of this out. Then you got Vatanen, who's actually worse. He's not very good on Corsi 4. Even strength, which is interesting. How much does he get a lot of time on the power play? It seems like he does. 248. That's pretty good. So, honestly, I think that Vatanen is there to spark some offense in their defensive core. I think he's there because he's a right-handed shot, and Ducks needed centerman really bad. Is it a bad trade? No, I don't think it's a bad trade for either team. If the Devils really think they want a defenseman, you got a hell of a good defenseman. I think the Ducks really needed offense and a good centerman, and they got that. The deal Like, Henry gets 40 to 50 points a year, very consistently. Vatanen has been said to be one of the more steady defensemen in the league. Like, I don't know if you gave up too much or not. I don't really think so. You know what this is going to be? This is going to be one of those trades where that third-round pick means a lot, because it could be one of those ones where, like, right now we're like, yeah, that was a great deal. And then we look at it 5 years later, and we're like, oh, that third-round pick, oh, that was so good. That was PK Subban. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those deals. So we'll see. That's pretty much my thoughts on the trade. I don't think anyone won. I think it was a pretty even deal. Great hockey trade. And, yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on it. So thanks again for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Iggy Podcast with Nick Ignatov. Make sure to follow him on Twitter for all the latest updates.